1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, the Hunter Office of the Arts is delighted to be speaking with Anna Weber. She is the General Manager of Carnegie Hall. My name is Brittany, and I am an Arts Ambassador for the Hunter College of the Arts. I will be receiving my Bachelor of Arts in Music at the end of the month. I'm an upright bassist and a guitar player, and I'm thrilled to be talking with Anna today because I myself am hoping to pursue a career in arts management, especially considering the current events like the COVID pandemic. I'm eager to continue to learn how to be an essential part of the performing arts. Before we begin, let's hear from our other arts ambassadors that are here with us today. Karen, would you like to talk about yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Karen, and I study clarinet here at Hunter College. I'm actually graduating next spring, and I'm hoping to enter the field of arts management with a concentration in the marketing sector.
Natalie, would you like to tell us about yourself too?
Sure. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm also a music major and an arts ambassador at Hunter College. I play the flute. And perhaps most importantly, I'm studying the arts management and leadership certificate because I also plan on going into the arts management field as a career. I'm not entirely sure the exact specifics yet, but definitely the performing arts is where I want to be in the management side. And so I'm really excited to be doing this interview and learning from you.
Thanks.
So, as I said before, today we have Anna Weber joining us, and she's the general manager of one of New York's most celebrated concert halls, Carnegie Hall. Anna has dedicated her whole career to music and musicians. In her role as a general manager of Carnegie Hall, she leads the planning and execution of 700 concerts and events that take place in Carnegie Hall and its 3 concert venues each year. Anna, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Great to be with you all.
We have some questions now about your early part of your journey into arts management. Karen, do you want to ask your first question?
Okay, so I wanted to start off this interview with what sparked your interest in music? Were you ever a musician prior to working at the administration side?
So I'm one of 5 kids, and I grew up in a very musical family. My grandfather was a musician. He played in the big bands. And so growing up, we all played piano, and we were all encouraged to choose an additional instrument. I chose flute. There was saxophone, clarinet, drums, cello, violin. So there was a lot of music in my house. My brothers had a garage band. So they played in the garage. I sometimes joined them when they allowed me to do that. But I played flute. I played flute in the middle school and high school orchestra. I also played in the marching band in high school. But performance definitely was not for me. But music has always been a part of my life, my family's life, and something that I just grew up with and enjoyed early on.
Anna, why did you decide to pursue a career in arts management? Was there a specific moment or event that encouraged your decision to do that?
So I would say it's probably by luck. I was not really aware of arts administration growing up or in college. So when I went to college, I got a broad liberal arts education. I was wanting to go to med school, actually. I graduated. Didn't really work out for me pre-med in college. So when I graduated, I was a little bit unsure of what I wanted to do. My older brother, who actually wanted to be in the music field, was working at the time for Sheldon Safra Management and managing an artist by the name of Ravi Shankar. And he had heard of a job opening at the New York Youth Symphony. I wasn't quite sure exactly what that was. I looked at the job. It was managing a youth orchestra, took the interview, got the job, and I stayed at the New York Youth Symphony for 4 years. Those were 4 extraordinary years. The offices were at Carnegie Hall. It was a 2-person office. We shared an office with the Oratorio Society. So it's a youth orchestra, and it exists today. If you don't know it, it's an extraordinary organization giving young musicians age 12 to 22 a phenomenal experience. 3 concerts at Carnegie Hall, 3 concerts at the Colden Center in Queens. At the time, it was a free program when I worked there. They had a chamber music program. They had a commissioning program. So I was not really aware of arts administration. So here I am at the New York Youth Symphony, working with a conductor by the name of Sam Wong, working with a parent association, a volunteer group, a board, working with musicians who serve as librarian, as production manager, personnel manager, and really getting an on-the-job training of orchestra management. So that's what sparked my interest. I worked 6 days a week. Sundays was full of rehearsal. I sat in on the rehearsals, listened to the music. I was really enjoying my time there. It was extraordinary. And I'm still involved with the Youth Symphony now on their board. I have lifelong friends from the Youth Symphony. But that's really, I guess, what sparked my interest in arts administration. I learned there as well about the league, the umbrella organization for orchestras at the time, and got involved with the youth division at the league, and really just learned a lot about orchestra management. So I guess the New York Youth Symphony really was my start.
So I guess I'll ask the next question, which I think was pretty much it was partially answered just now, because it was going to be, how did you transition from studying government, which it said in your bio you studied in undergrad, into business administration. I believe you just answered, how you got into the world a little bit and what sparked your interest in it. I guess a little bit more specifically, I know you said this happened post-grad. Was there anything maybe in your undergrad career that led you to decide, like before you had this connection and got this job, that led you to maybe decide you wanted to go into the business administration world?
So yeah, I think my career trajectory was very gradual. So when I went to college, as I said, I wasn't aware of arts administration. I was really wanting to be pre-med. It didn't work out. I got a broad liberal arts education, loved studying government. It was really, I'm glad I did that. And in terms of leaving college, it was just again by luck that someone had introduced me or told me about an opening in the field of arts administration. In terms of the trajectory and moving on to business school, that happened at the New York Philharmonic. So I left the New York Youth Symphony after four really wonderful years, and took an entry-level job at the New York Philharmonic, working the personnel manager's office there, and really learning a great deal about orchestra management from, I guess, a professional lens. And I was there for about 9 years and had all different roles there. But I always wanted to go back to school, something I was just in me. And I decided to go and get an MBA. And I'm grateful to Deborah Borda, who actually was the executive director at the time when I was there. Close to 25 years ago. And she supported me getting that MBA while working. And I'm forever grateful for her for that. I'm not sure it wasn't happening that often, I don't think, where people were working and going to school. And I'm really grateful that I was able to do that, maintain my kind of career path, maintain the role with the New York Philharmonic while getting the MBA. So I wanted to do that, as I said, because I wanted to go back to school. I thought that an MBA could really help in terms of moving the career forward, and the courses and meeting new people and just being in the education environment appealed to me. So as I said, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity.
This is actually really good for me to hear, because what you've said so far, your trajectory has sounded quite similar to mine, because I play the flute as well, and I kind of always knew deep down performance wasn't for me. but I didn't know what else to do because that was the main thing that I did like throughout, middle school, high school, and everything. And then when I got to college, I found out about arts administration, and like you said, I had never known about it before. And so this is really exciting for me to hear. So I really thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad.
So, Anna, we would love to talk to you a little bit more about your current role at Carnegie Hall. Karen, would you like to ask your next question?
Yeah, so this question actually got answered in a sense where like how did you get to where you are like in initial, so it's from this massive chain of like connections and also just working in the industry. So would you say that to get to your current role, um, would experience perhaps be more important than degree in a sense where, so I was actually also pre-med before, much like a few other people. Yes, I was pre-med before, and then I decided to switch to music. And when I was thinking about potentially going to MBA like right after college, is that even possible, or should I try to get an internship? So what do you think is like to get to the place where you are right now in your career? Like, what do you think is the most important, I guess?
It's a good question. I mean, again, starting out at the New York Youth Symphony and having had that opportunity um, and learning there and being patient, I think part of what I've learned is also patience. That I didn't bop around too much. I've stayed in 3 incredible organizations. And there was a lot of opportunity. I took advantage of the opportunity that was given to me or that I sought out in each institution. So, I think if you find a role or an organization that you feel passionate about, that you want to contribute to, whether it's an internship, whether it's an entry-level job, you just need to learn from the people around you, and I would say be patient in terms of your growth, and take all that you can and give all that you can to the organization that you're starting out with, whether it's as I said, an internship or a paid position. So it's about the people you work with, and learning from them and them learning from you. I think is how you build your knowledge, your career, and your trajectory.
So I was going to ask the next question, which is more transitioning to you into the job that you currently hold. What does a day-to-day look like at your job typically, or does it change very often?
Yeah, every day is different. I would say is different. I feel very fortunate to work at Carnegie Hall in the role that I have. The people are extraordinary. Clive Gillinson, the executive and artistic director, is an incredible visionary and really, I would say, exciting, whether it's talking about artistic planning in the near future or the many years out, and brainstorming about what that would look like. Talking to the Ensemble Connect team, which is a postgraduate program at Carnegie Hall, about the program itself, about the new fellows, meeting with production to hear about what's happening with those 700 concerts and all the details. A lot of contract discussions, negotiations, and preparations for negotiations. A lot of budgeting. So every day is very different. Pre-pandemic, there was a lot of visiting down and listening to rehearsals and reading all sorts of people who are performing or attending Carnegie Hall. So it's a dynamic place to be. Every day is different, problem solving. So all sorts of different things. So the day never is dull. Goes by very quickly every day.
I see. And I had a bit of a follow-up question for that. It sounds like you do a lot of like behind the scenes, nitty-gritty work, things like that. I was going to ask, would you say that you have any traits or special skills? Because I know that you landed this job originally and you got into the industry from connections, but I was wondering if you've noticed anything in yourself that kind of confirmed for you that this is where you belong and that this is what you're good at and what you can do?
Probably collaboration and working well with people. I think people in this industry, and probably any industry now, you really should enjoy working with a team. I think you have to also be confident in making decisions when you're working in any environment. I would say building trust among people also, and building trust among your colleagues. Learned from my current boss, actually, to ask a lot of good questions before you can get to the right answers, which is key. I think I have now a good working knowledge of the industry, starting out at the New York Youth Symphony and learning all sorts of different things there, from mailings to marketing to production and fundraising. I mean, a real, I think, working knowledge, and also going into the New York Philharmonic at a very entry-level role helped me also to build my knowledge. So I hope those are, I think, the skills and traits that I think have helped me succeed.
So it sounds like your day-to-day can get quite busy. How do you manage your time and stay organized? Do you have any self-care tips for when you're not working?
Well, that's an area I'm falling short in self-care. I think, I admire those people that do it well. I think I know what needs to be done and how to do it, whether, it's taking time for yourself and all the good things that come with that in terms of exercise and eating healthy and meditating. So I don't have any self-care tips that I actually do, ones that I read about and aspire to. But staying organized, I think, it's a large team, and I think that you have to be able to delegate. You have to be able to support the team, give those around you the responsibilities, a lot of prioritizing, attend meetings with agendas and goals so that you are staying organized and moving forward. But it's done with a big team, a lot of organization with a big team.
Anna, what do you attribute to the reputation of Carnegie Hall? And is there anything you can think of that makes the acoustics so great there?
Well, I mean, Carnegie Hall is a destination, right, for the greatest musicians from all over the world. It has an extraordinary history. All the greats have performed at Carnegie Hall. I mean, from Tchaikovsky and Bernstein and Horowitz and Benny Goodman. I mean, Duke Ellington. I mean, Miles Davis. I mean, we can go on and on. Judy Garland, the Beatles, Marian Anderson. Anyway, can go on and on and on to today's greats. So I think, the history of Carnegie Hall and the fact that all the wonderful artists of the day want to perform there, and it's an aspirational place to be, is I think what makes it really extraordinary and great. The acoustics, I think, what makes I think that's a good question for an acoustical engineer. But I guess for the layperson, right, what is the good acoustics, that you are enveloped in the sound, that you can hear all of the instruments, all of the elements that are on the stage in a balanced way, loud, soft, and voices, everything coming at you is balanced and as I said, enveloped in the sound. But it's a good question for an acoustic engineer.
Great. Now, why don't we talk a little bit about the potential future? Do you have a specific vision for the future of Carnegie Hall?
Carnegie Hall will be around for for a long time and hopefully forever. But I would say I hope Carnegie Hall will continue to be a cultural convener, bringing the arts together in the city and arts organizations to create great festivals and projects. We'll continue to present and represent the best in music and a wide range of music, to continue to serve the community through music with all of its programs, on its stages, in its programs and concerts and throughout the city and citywide, through its education programs and social impact programs, youth orchestras. Really, I think Carnegie Hall's future is to continue to use the power of music, the power of the institution, to make a difference in the community, to really use the power of the institution to serve the community through music. And that will continue to develop and grow throughout the years.
So in relation to this, I had a question about like how has the pandemic affected your work here at Carnegie Hall?
Well, as you know, Carnegie Hall is still closed. We've been, I think, closed since March. And well, a lot of it is this. A lot of it is learning how to communicate, work with teams through Zoom and how to create new systems to collaborate and work with the staff. Of course, it was undoing a lot of what we planned, a lot of concerts and events, what we planned, and a lot of reimagining. So the good news is we did a lot of reimagining, like many organizations, if not all organizations, shifted to digital. And that was the mode in which we are and all are able to maintain connections to our audiences, to our donors, to our artists. And so everybody in the institution who were focused on presenting and producing live events shifted to presenting and producing digital events. Of course, we had a digital team, and digital was always part of Carnegie Hall's organization. But creating day in and day out content that is being streamed was a shift for the organization, which has been exciting, and people have enjoyed doing that, and that will continue as we navigate through this time. Another part, I think, of the job is, or the role in the pandemic, is that another part of the organization has been meeting about, what does reopening look like? What are those protocols that will have to be put in place when we actually are able to reopen? It's kind of reimagining opening a new concert hall in some ways, and having those discussions now about what that would look like. So there's a lot of navigating, I think, and making decisions with a lot of unknowns and shifting information all the time. What we try to do is make decisions as late as possible so we have as much information as possible. But the pandemic has shifted our focus right now to ensure that we come out strong when we're all able to re-engage and with music and experience music again together.
So as a follow-up question, as you know, like it transitioned to technology and has changed dramatically. And so how do you think moving on, the performing arts will evolve in the future based on what all we've been through in this pandemic?
It's a good question. Well, I think people are going to want to get back to experience live events again and experience live music again together. And when that happens, it will be an extraordinary day. I do think that all organizations made this big shift to digital and engage new audiences. And so what does the digital strategy look like for arts organizations that post-pandemic? And how do you engage those audiences and continue to create content that works alongside the live component? So I think that will be an interesting conversation and focus to have.
And this is sort of related, given the pandemic, but also just in general. Do you have advice for students who are about to enter the workplace, particularly students who are looking for their first internship and are having trouble finding opportunities to get experience, especially during this time?
Yeah, well, I guess it's true pre-pandemic and during pandemic. What I did when I got my job at the New York Philharmonic, I started looking up people who I thought would be interesting to speak to in the field. And one of them was Alison Vogelmore, who was at the time running the New York Philharmonic. And so I was at the Youth Symphony and asked her for an informational interview, wrote at the time. And she had said yes. It took, I think, almost a year to get that interview, back and forth and forth and back. But I got that interview, and she had said, there's no openings here, nothing's available. And I said, no, I understand. I just wanted to talk about the industry as I was learning from the youth orchestra at the time. Make a long story short, there was an opening. She brought me downstairs, and I got the job as the assistant in the orchestra personnel manager's office. So I always think that in looking for internships, in looking for jobs, I would, write to or directly try to contact people that are in the industry that you'd like to learn from. I do get contacted, and I try to make all those connections, speak to people who I don't know, even if they're not in, there's no introduction if it's a cold call. So of course, you're looking at websites and looking at organizations that you'd love to work for and apply in whatever traditional manner that is, whether it's through their office or LinkedIn these days, or other outlets for arts jobs. But I wouldn't be shy in terms of reaching out to people that you'd like to have conversations with. And again, in the context of informational interviews. And that's what I would suggest. And certainly now during the pandemic, that's something hopefully, yes, people are busy, but hopefully would take a few minutes out of their time to talk to someone who's interested in the field.
That's a really helpful answer. I do know connections are super important, and forging those connections yourselves wasn't something I really thought of. So that's a really helpful answer. I had a bit of a follow-up question. Now that you have worked up to that point where you are, what do you look for when hiring or when managing people?
Well, again, I look for people who are collaborative, who enjoy working with a team, because a lot of what we do is team-based. I think now, and really critical, is people who are flexible, people who can, think in ways and not rigid in their days or thinking, especially seeing that with the pandemic, people being able to shift their skill set to shift to digital. So really people who are flexible. It's good to have a good sense of humor. We like to have fun. I think people who have a willingness to learn, and want to learn as much as they possibly can, work independently. And I look for people who are kind, kindness at the core. And really want to work with a team and be part of a team that supports one another. And so it's hard to suss out, but that's what I look for.
Well, as a student who's I'm graduating next year, but sort of about to enter this industry, this is really helpful for me, especially, during this time, just understanding ways to get creative, really helpful. Those were pretty much all of the questions we had for now. I just want to thank you so much for being here and giving us such valuable advice. And I know our audience, when they see this, will appreciate this as well. And I know on behalf of the other arts ambassadors and Esther, I thank you so much.
Well, it's really been a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. And good luck with everything, and I'm always available if you want to talk.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.